On the morning of October 23, 2019, the eastbound Silver Line train departing from Briarwood Terminal in the Lower Metropolitan Transit District experienced what was first logged as a routine signal malfunction, the type of delay that occurred often enough that most commuters barely lifted their eyes from their phones. Yet what separated this stop from the hundreds before it was the precise location recorded by the automated system, which placed the train nearly 400 meters inside the old Greenwood Tunnel corridor, a stretch officially decommissioned in 1974 and listed on infrastructure reports as sealed, reinforced, and structurally collapsed at multiple points, meaning no active track should have existed there at all. And yet the train slowed gradually, the lights dimmed to auxiliary power, and through the windows passengers reported seeing platform lights emerge from the darkness in a soft yellow glow, revealing tiled walls, iron support columns, and signage bearing the name Ashford Station in worn serif lettering, a location no transit historian, city planner, or transportation database could later verify had ever been approved, constructed, or referenced in any municipal archive. Initial emergency response notes describe the stop lasting approximately 90 seconds, during which the conductor attempted to contact central control, but received only static layered with what sounded like distant metallic scraping, similar to wheels rolling over rusted track, even though the train itself was motionless. And several passengers later stated they felt a subtle vibration beneath the floor, as if another train were passing far below them, in a deeper tunnel system that should not have existed according to modern schematics. And as the platform lights steadied, commuters described seeing figures standing along the edge of the platform dressed in outdated clothing, long coats, brimmed hats, and dresses with high collars, all facing the train in complete stillness, their faces pale and indistinct, as though viewed through fogged glass, with no movement except the slow sway of hanging light fixtures overhead that cast stretching shadows across the tile. One passenger, a civil engineer named Marcus Hale, whose statement would later circulate heavily within internal transit investigations, recalled that the station appeared older than any preserved historical stop in the city. The tile cracked and discolored by moisture stains, the signage rusted at the edges, and the air outside the windows seemed thick, almost smoky, even though no fire alarms were triggered. And what unsettled him most was the silence, because despite the visible crowd on the platform, there were no footsteps, no voices, no mechanical hum of station ventilation, only the faint echo of something dripping somewhere in the darkness beyond the far end of the platform, creating the sense of a space that had been sealed off from human activity for decades. Surveillance footage recovered from inside the train corroborated the visual appearance of the station, but failed to clearly capture the figures' faces, which appeared as blurred shapes regardless of camera angle, as though a distortion field existed specifically around them. And more concerning to investigators was the timestamp anomaly showing the recording jumping backward by exactly 6 minutes during the stop before resuming normally, creating a gap that could not be accounted for by any software error known to transit security technicians. And when the train suddenly lurched forward as if power had been restored, the lights outside vanished instantly, replaced by solid tunnel darkness, and within seconds the train emerged into the next scheduled station, exactly on time according to public timetables, as though the delay had never occurred at all. Transit authority officials initially dismissed the incident as a system glitch, combined with optical illusion from emergency maintenance lighting. But the theory quickly fell apart when track inspectors were dispatched into the Greenwood Tunnel corridor that same evening and found no evidence of an active platform, no lighting infrastructure, no signage, and no accessible space large enough to accommodate a station. only reinforced concrete walls bearing sealing dates from the 1970s, and water seepage consistent with long-term abandonment. Yet several inspectors reported hearing faint metallic reverberations deep behind the sealed sections, like distant train horns echoing through hollow chambers, sounds that could not be traced to any operational tunnel nearby, and were later attributed in official reports to structural acoustics of unknown origin. Over the following weeks, additional reports surfaced from commuters on different lines, claiming brief glimpses of the same station during unscheduled tunnel slowdowns, always appearing for less than 2 minutes, always displaying the same name, Ashford Station, and always populated by motionless figures who never boarded, never waved, never reacted to the trains passing through. And city historians were consulted to determine whether Ashford might have been a proposed stop from early 20th century transit expansions. But exhaustive reviews of blueprints, council meeting transcripts, and archived newspapers revealed no mention of it whatsoever, not even in rejected planning proposals, leading to the unsettling conclusion that the station had no bureaucratic footprint at all. Something unheard of in a city whose development records were notoriously meticulous. Things escalated in December when a maintenance worker named Elena Ruiz was conducting overnight electrical diagnostics in a service corridor parallel to Greenwood Tunnel and reported encountering a lit passageway where only a sealed wall should have been, describing it as opening into a full-length platform identical to the one seen by passengers, complete with aged tile and hanging lamps. And though she initially believed she had discovered an undocumented historical space, her radio transmission abruptly cut out as she stepped inside, and her body camera footage later showed the hallway stretching longer than physically possible, the platform extending into darkness at both ends, and dozens of figures lining the wall, their heads slowly turning toward her in synchronized motion, producing a low, echoing sound like air being pulled through hollow pipes, after which the footage distorted violently and ended. Search teams were deployed within minutes but found only the original sealed corridor wall intact, with no doorway, no platform, and no sign Elena had ever breached the concrete barrier. Her body never recovered, and the transit authority quietly classified her disappearance as an on-site accident involving unauthorized tunnel access, though no evidence supported that explanation. And internal memos leaked months later revealed growing concern among engineers that certain tunnel segments did not align spatially with surface-level city geography, suggesting the existence of structural anomalies or voids unaccounted for in official infrastructure models. The final recorded incident occurred on March 2, 2020, when a full passenger train briefly vanished from GPS tracking while traveling through the same corridor, disappearing for approximately 3 minutes before reappearing several stations ahead with no mechanical issues reported. And although passengers described the train simply passing through darkness as usual, the onboard surveillance footage showed something entirely different, revealing the train slowing as Ashford Station emerged again, this time empty of figures, the platform lights flickering erratically, and as the train rolled past without stopping, the cameras captured dozens of pale faces suddenly appearing behind the windows, pressed close from the platform side, their mouths opening in perfect unison as if screaming, though no sound registered on the audio feed, only a deep vibration that rattled the camera mounts. After that event, the Greenwood corridor was permanently closed under the justification of structural instability, sealed with new reinforced barriers, and removed from all active transit routing. Yet maintenance crews continued to log unexplained power drains in the area, lights activating within the sealed tunnel despite no electrical circuits remaining connected. and faint rhythmic tremors consistent with train movement detected by underground sensors long after all service had ceased. And though city officials insisted the phenomena were residual system feedback, independent engineers noted the vibrations followed outdated rail schedules from the early 1900s, times corresponding to commuter routes that no longer existed. The most disturbing discovery came during a historical audit requested by a university research group studying urban transit myths. When an archivist reviewing death certificates from the influenza pandemic of 1918 uncovered repeated references to victims employed at a location listed simply as Ashford Station, all of whom were recorded as having died within a 2-week span during a quarantine closure of underground transit lines, with cause of death described as respiratory failure following prolonged entrapment. Yet no municipal disaster records acknowledged any tunnel collapse or station lockdown during that period. And when the archivist attempted to access further documents tied to the station, entire ledger pages were missing, cleanly removed as if deliberately extracted decades earlier. To this day, some late-night maintenance staff still report seeing distant lights flicker deep within sealed tunnels, hearing the echo of old-style train horns reverberating through concrete that should lead nowhere, and feeling sudden drops in air temperature when walking past certain sections of the Greenwood corridor, as though passing the mouth of a vast underground chamber. And though Ashford Station remains officially non-existent, its name never restored to maps or transit histories, it continues to appear sporadically in system glitches, emergency logs, and corrupted footage files labeled with timestamps that predate the city's subway construction entirely, leading investigators to quietly speculate that the station may not be a forgotten structure at all, but something that exists parallel to the transit system, surfacing briefly when timelines overlap, carrying the remnants of passengers who once boarded a train that never reached its destination, and who now wait endlessly on a platform that should not exist, for trains that occasionally and mistakenly find their way into their world.